everybody. I'm your host, Jaime Soretta. On this podcast, we celebrate everything local, and what a vibrant food and beverage scene we have here in the Valley. I want to introduce to you some leaders in that space. I have with me Chef Beau MacMillan and Mike Troyan of Clive Collective. Hello, gentlemen.
Good to see you, hon.
So great to see you guys. When I say Clive Collective, people will likely recognize the name Cala, and of most recent, Tell Your Friends. So Chef Beau, let's start with you, because let's talk about some of the food that you have created here in Arizona. When I think of Chef Beau MacMillan, I think of the Sanctuary, the legacy there, and I think of Food Network as well, because it seemed like you were kind of one of the first to break into that market and then bring along a lot of your friends. Tell your friends you did, I guess.
I got here in 1998, and I remember telling my mom I'm going on a job interview in Scottsdale, Arizona, and my mom was like, "You're not moving to Scottsdale." I'm like, "Hell no, Mom, I'm not moving to Scottsdale."
But where were you?
I was in LA, and I spent the weekend in Scottsdale, and I called my mom on Monday, and I said, "I'm moving to Scottsdale, Arizona." It was the greatest. And I got to tell you, back then, I came out, interviewed, did a tasting, was offered a position, and the GM at the time said, "Hey, go check out a restaurant down the street, and I want you to go see Old Town," which was like, I think, the selling point for me. But I had dinner back then in October of 1998 at a place called T. Cook's at the Royal Palms. And I walked into this beautiful little hotel on the base of Camelback Mountain, and I felt like the whole city was there. It reminded me of what Global Ambassador is in today, right? And the restaurant was amazing. The chef, Michael Hubler, at the time was there, and I had one of the best meals. I was like, this is as good as I eat in LA, in my opinion. And I just, on a whim, moved out here, and my life changed. It was the best decision I made. And I tried to intertwine myself with the culinary fabric here from the minute I got going and cut my teeth in this town. It really supported me, and I couldn't change a thing. I feel blessed to be a part of the city.
And you said you're from LA, but then I heard part of the city.
Yeah,
where are you from?
I grew up in the Commonwealth, Jaime, of Massachusetts, halfway between the Cape and Boston.
Oh, okay, there it is.
I'm just pouring it on because my Celtics are NBA champions. So I'm sorry. I love the Phoenix Suns. I got a lot of love for the Suns, but I got to root for my home team too once in a while.
All right. Well, okay. Well, home team for Mikis and I, because we grew up not too far away from each other. I went to school together. Tell me a little bit about where you grew up.
So I was born and raised in Phoenix, kind of the Paradise Valley Mall area. And then eventually my parents moved to Paradise Valley, the town of Paradise Valley, and grew up going to, went to high school at Chaparral, and then moved out of town and went to college at San Diego State.
Yeah.
Firebirds.
And then moved back.
Oh, and then moved back. So a lot of people are trying to move to San Diego, but you moved there and then came back home. What made you want to come back home?
It was work related at the time. I really wasn't doing much after college in San Diego, and my dad needed some help in the real estate profession, and I came out here and worked with him for a while before I started a different career in hospitality.
Yeah, and in hospitality you did. So tell me about what made you get into nightclubs, right?
Yeah, initially it was all nightlife based. In San Diego, I actually did promoting for a lot of nightclubs, and when I moved back here, I always had a passion for creating concepts and being part of the scene. So took a leap of faith.
He's totally lying. It was all about the women. It was all about the women.
That too.
Tell them the truth, Mikis.
I mean, remember the promoter thing, like in the late
listening to
'90s.
this, I feel like one of those dad things. Is Dad telling the truth right now?
The promoter was the best.
I mean, that was a very lucrative job, I'm sure, in many ways.
Free drinks. Just get girls inside a club. Yeah, let's go.
They don't do that anymore. How now we have to buy a table? What happens?
God, it's all about that now.
Yeah.
But, no, it was good, and went right into ownership really.
Yeah.
And thankfully I've had a good long career so far with it.
And you say right into ownership. I mean, that doesn't happen for many people. How did that happen for you?
I guess luck.
No guts, no glory.
Or stupidity. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
One or the other. But I never truly actually worked inside a restaurant before, outside of promotions and all that stuff. And, we just did it. We just hopped right in.
Yeah. And what would you tell someone who is thinking, should I just buy a bar?
Don't.
Why?
No, it's a lot harder.
Yeah,
it's a lot harder than you think.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to kind of know what you're doing. You got to have the right staff, and that's number one.
Mm-hmm.
You really got to
Concept, location, all these things that come into play.
You got to be good at everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's being in hospitality. You really have to be good at every little thing, from accounting to design to quality to, controlling labor to, literally everything. The
And
vibe of the space, the lighting, the sound. I mean, all
and
the
that's
senses.
something you guys have mastered now.
I hope so.
I mean,
wood on that.
I feel like this was just what we were talking about. Things that when we introduced this business of Clive Collective,
Yep.
you were saying you wanted to introduce not just the food can be amazing.
Yeah.
The lighting's amazing. The vibe is amazing. The music is amazing. The ambiance is amazing. All of a sudden, it becomes this experience. Like when you walk in to tell your friends, you have to find this random door on the side of Americano, and you walk in, and Beau, you said people are saying,
wow, when they walk through the doors. And it's, it really, it's funny because, my background obviously is food. And that was always what I put at the forefront of really where it's at. But now when I look at, where the success comes from in restaurants, I think it is a collective blend of all of the sensibilities that we each can have. There's got to be music. There's got to be the visual. There's got to be the energy and the vibe, and then there's the taste. You know what I mean? So like all of these components, when they do work together, great. And it doesn't usually happen day one.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of an effort.
100% on that.
But when it comes together, I can tell you, it's just I've never felt more of an overwhelming sense of pride. And me, Jaime, I had worked as an executive chef in this town for 23 years at one spot, right? Perched
and
on the hill,
very
loved it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I knew when I had the opportunity, if, when the time comes, I'm not going to go somewhere else and just open up one more spot, right? Partly one of the biggest opportunities I think that was enticing for me is, Mikis' ambition and Justin Massey, our other partner, and what we wanted to do in this town was create and concept and culturize and provide multiple unique spaces that had energy, vibe, and all the things that we talked about. And I was just like trying to rev that throttle. And we're about 3 years in together, 4 years with 3 projects, and I wouldn't change anything about any of them. In a sense. We're just trying to make them better day in and day out.
The constant tweaking. I call it the turning of the screws, because you guys
100%.
have probably known each other for 20-something years, working, in the business, in the industry together. What made you come together at this point, Mikis?
Truthfully, I didn't know Beau.
Yeah.
Really?
I knew who he
Oh,
was.
wow.
But when, we were...
Thank God he didn't know me, because he would have never came to talk to
He
me.
said, do I want to work with him?
No, we were introduced by
Mutual friend.
a mutual friend, and I had started working on a project, and I wanted a big splash, and they're like, do you know Beau? And I was like, I don't. We met one day, and I was showing him the project, and
He made me cannonball at his pool, saw the
Oh.
splash,
What?
saw the splash,
Saw the
and that was
splash.
it.
yeah, that was it.
Yeah. Was that Money Baby?
That was
What?
Money Baby.
Yeah.
And sat down with Beau for, 30 minutes, and next thing, Beau's like, I'm in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
I'm totally in. Love it.
Yeah.
And Money Baby in Vegas, though.
Yeah.
So
Money
this
Baby was in
wasn't even a
Vegas.
project here in Phoenix. What
Correct.
Yeah.
made you want to jump on this one then?
One, partly because at the time of my life, I had an exit strategy in mind. My ownership was transparent. I knew at some point Sanctuary was going to sell in certain things. So I was kind of, looking for opportunities. And between us here in the room, Mikis and with Clive and the company that he was forming, I knew how much success he had in his former life. But the cool thing was the concept in itself was so unique to me because it was, deemed, and we termed it as a hybrid style concept. But it was and this is the way I love it, this about food and everything like that. It's called like the evolution. So, places got to evolve like people do, right? To stay relevant and to do, look at Mark Tarbell in the city and Christopher Gross in the city. I just love what they've been able to do and hold it down. But with this event in itself, it merged everything I loved. It was big energy and big high-end sports entertainment, right? Which I'm a diehard. I bleed
obviously, yes.
sports in every level. And then as the sports kind of died down throughout the night, it turned into like a bottle service nightclub of the best what they did, but it had such vibe It had the coolest name on the planet, Money
Yeah,
Baby.
for
I mean,
sure.
come on.
I mean,
you know what
that
I mean?
was great.
It was 19,000 square feet, and it was in Vegas. I'm like, let's go. You know what I mean? So that for me was where I was totally in with it and loved everything we did. And then Cala was the second space that came crawling. We looked at each other a couple times. I'm like, dude, we're doing this. He was like, are you sure we're doing this? And I was like, I don't know, I'm doing it. And then I was like, I don't know if we're doing it. And he's like, they're doing this. And we went back and forth, and we just did it. And what's crazy was, because of the timing of Cala, it was already kind of the space was there.
Right.
So we had a short window. It was like 4 months to come in. And in the 4 months from
develop a concept in 4 months, really.
Like not only
From
that, built a
scratch.
200-seat patio with a bar. I looked at this kitchen. I was like, this kitchen's designed to do like 60 covers on a Friday night, and stuff like this. And I remember just talking about like him asking me, what do you think we can do? What do you think we can do out of the space? And I was trying to give him an answer I thought he would like to hear.
Oh.
That might have been a tiny bit inflated from a numbers wise. And I said it, and he's like, well, I think we have to do a little bit more than that. And I'm like, Mikis is crazy. We're never going to do more than this.
Really?
And our first year, we blew it out of the water.
Well,
It's
you think
it's
of that
testament
space
to people. Yeah.
of where Cala is.
Yeah.
I mean, it sits right there in the heart of Old Town Scottsdale, which I guess won your heart back in '98.
Yeah.
And how much that has grown up.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh,
sure.
what's been happening in Old Town Scottsdale.
Yep.
But then to be adjacent to or part of a hotel, because
Yeah.
there aren't a lot of hotels that are right there.
Right.
And they're probably needed.
Yeah.
And so was it the hotel who reached out to you, or with that space, Mikis?
Yeah, the hotel, I mean, they knew they weren't going to survive without unbelievable operators like Mikis and myself. And
They came searching
we
for you?
deemed the whole success of the Senate House's achievements basically on the back of Cala. We did a fantastic job for the hotel.
Mikis is like, oh,
Yeah. Just ask Tyler Kent. That's his name. He's the guy you want to talk to. He will say, Beau's my guy, Mikis is my guy, and really we wouldn't be who we are without Cala.
Hopefully that gets cut.
okay.
Do not cut that out.
I don't know what's happening. I feel like I'm in the middle of a funny thing that I don't know. There's some inside joke there.
there's an inside joke
But
there.
shout out to that owner, whoever
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
So,
Much
yes.
love, I believe.
But
At the end of the day.
to your point, you're right. Hotels and restaurants, and when you have that, I think that people understand that. We talked about this before back in the day. A hotel restaurant, like some people would frown about that, but Scottsdale always had that. I think the big birthplace of our food acumen here in this town came from the hotel situation.
Right.
I love having it. I love having guests in beds. They can come downstairs. You can meet people. They return to the business, and all this stuff. I mean, even for us, as Old Town's a big bachelorette destination.
Yeah.
So, we're working hand in hand, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, no doubt. And Mikis, tell me about how that scene has changed down there in Old Town Scottsdale from American Junkie, your first spot, to what it's become now in 2024.
Yeah, I think you're seeing a big change actually, because back then, when we started, it was very nightlife driven, and in a different nightlife. Like when American Junkie came out, it wasn't the ultra nightclubs that we were used to back then, like Axis Radius, and Suede. And,
Oh, Access Radius. This still my
Punk
heart.
Place.
and, all those places were ultra nightclubs. You had to dress up, like all that stuff. Me coming from San Diego, in terms of college and living there, like that all ended a while back. Like it was jeans and t-shirts.
Yeah.
And back in
Flip-flops.
days.
Mike's had
Yeah,
hair
well, maybe
just
not
down to the middle of his back.
Yeah.
It was all swaying in the
He's
surf.
carrying a surfboard.
Perfect.
Yeah. But you brought something a little more casual
Yeah, we
to the
wanted
scene
something
there.
more casual, a little bit more, fun,
Yeah.
lots of energy, not so, pretentious. And, that was kind of American Junkie, and that was that kind of hybrid sports bar / nightclub that, that we did. And then we left and started another company and steamrolled kind of that kind of concept, with the hybrid and all that stuff. And then we started getting into little restaurants. And that's kind of where my passion lied a little bit more than the nightlife stuff. And I separated and started Clive, and
Well, when I saw
we're
you
at.
at Tell Your Friends,
Yeah.
you said to me, and you kind of went like this is adulting.
It is.
Yeah.
I
You
use that
know,
word adulting. Yeah.
and it was like a showman showing off what I presented. But it was such pride. It was very beautiful.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of like, this is what our next phase looks like.
I totally
We're
Yeah.
gonna sit down. We're gonna listen to a live band. There's a full, beautiful piano there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna dress up. We're gonna have a beautiful cocktail.
Sure.
And we're gonna have a grown-up night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, in this stage of my life, that's
Yeah.
what I'm looking for.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? I want to enjoy something. You know, the bottle service stuff is way behind me.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what people my age, I guess,
The
are looking for.
bottle might just be now a
Yeah.
$300 bottle of champagne when you come in, you know,
Right.
versus a bottle of vodka, right?
Yeah. And please don't
Yeah.
spray it all over the room.
Yeah.
For
This
many
room's
reasons.
expensive. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that room
Yeah.
because that was what was in that space before over there at the
It was
Americana.
just a basement. It was
What?
their storage.
No.
It had
swear
a
to
pallet of 00 flour
Yeah.
and semolina when
Some
I think
old
we walked
furniture.
into it. Concrete walls.
Yeah.
Concrete walls. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so who said we should put a bar down here, or do you even call it a bar? I mean, lounge.
Yeah,
it
it's
needs a
more of a
fancier
lounge.
Call it
name.
a
Yeah.
cocktail emporium.
Okay, yes, it needs a fancy name.
Good friends of mine own Americano, Dave Sellers and Bob Agahi,
Uh-huh.
and they had always planned to do something downstairs. They opened Americano and planned to extend it downstairs, and it just never happened. COVID happened, and
Yeah.
all these other things. And Bob and I were talking one night, and I'd done a lot of business in the past with Bob, and I was like, I'd love to kind of continue to do something new.
Yeah.
And he reminded me of the space below Americano, and I was like, sold, let's do it. And I kind of, you know, with my partner Justin, you know, had kind of an idea of something really cool that would accentuate what Americano is, you know, very high end, you know, just something that would do it
Pop.
good service,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And
Big splash,
Yeah.
money, baby. Let's go big.
Yeah, let's go
and when
big.
you walk in,
Yeah.
wow is right because it's not like anything we've seen before. You could tell there is so much attention put into design
Yep.
and lighting and space and feel. Even the way the different nooks and tables are created. You can be out in the middle. You could be near the band. You
Yep.
could be hidden in the back, having
Yeah.
some clandestine date night.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many different opportunities in that
for
space.
such a small room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's true.
For where the
Yeah.
the bags of flour used to hang
Yeah,
out.
that's right.
You
Exactly.
guys
That's right.
dressed that thing up very nice.
Yeah, I
It
wish
was
I had a
beautiful.
picture of that.
I
room.
know.
You
You
know,
did the
we
before
always,
and after.
we always
Might
say
have
that,
one.
but it was like
Yeah.
8 months ago, you know.
Yeah.
And
Oh
it's,
my
I
gosh.
remember Mikis calling me and he goes, "Hey, we're gonna go look at something today." He goes, "What are you free?" And I said, "What are you looking at?" He goes, "We a speakeasy opportunity." And I'm like,
speakeasy.
I go-
That's the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go,
I like
where?
to call it an anti-speaker.
Yeah, we call it an anti-speaking now because of the name, right?
Okay,
you know,
yes,
but,
yes.
but I said, where is it? And he goes, under the Americano. I'm like, under the Americano? They have
Yeah.
a basement under the Americano? I remember walking in going like, when I came down that corner and you looked up and you had what, like 22-foot ceilings or
16
something like
foot
that?
ceilings.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
huge.
they're
You know what I mean?
huge
I was like,
ceilings.
oh, you can definitely do something. And then to remember it for what it was,
Yeah.
and now when you walk in and see it and have it go like, wow, that's, and it's funny because, you know, you're talking about the love, right?
Yeah.
All of that is built on dreams. All of that is built on love. All of that is built on what's inside of you and really what you want to bring and what you want to share. Hospitality is the relationship between the host and the guest. It's really about giving, right? And so that's the best. For me, being in the room too is knowing that people come in and actually see the product from a visual already and go like, they appreciate that because there was ultimate care, there was ultimate detail, ultimate attention placed in it.
Yeah.
And now we just got to put the people that illuminate it in there and hopefully serve good food and great drinks, and we're off to the races.
I mean, I attended your opening
yeah.
After a news day. It was a full news day, and I went in that space. And after I left, I went home and bought myself a new pair of shoes. I'm like, I needed better shoes for this place.
That's
I
hilarious.
just needed
I love it. I
my
love it.
work shoes were not going to cut it.
Yeah.
Because it just felt like you said, Mikis, of adulting.
Yeah.
And you know,
I think
it-
something's missing that was missing in this town.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think I think of Suede back in the day,
Yeah.
and it was a lounge. It was a place that you got dressed up and you hung out, but you didn't have to hear the boom boom music
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whatnot. And we
Yeah.
don't have a lot of options for adults who want to go out for a lovely night. I feel like we have a lot of places where we can bring kids and play
Yeah.
cornhole and maybe eat some wings.
Yeah.
But
But
have
it's-
live entertainment too. And the
Yeah.
live entertainment is
Huge.
glamorous. It's elegant.
Yes.
It can transcend you. You know, people walk in and they're like, is this Prohibition? Is this the Gatsby era? Is this the 70s with the disco balls? You
Well,
know, it's
I need new shoes and a fringy dress for the
why
next
not,
time.
right? I mean, think of that place on New Year's Eve, right?
Oh,
It's champagne
stop.
and caviar. Or if you want to book it privately with a Rat Pack dinner and throw back some old school food and bring a Sinatra impersonator in the place. That place can be whatever you want it to be in a sense.
So you're telling us we could rent it out because that would be
It's a shameless plug. It's $55.95 by the hour, and you just call me personally. I take cash donations.
Cash and gift cards. Gift cards only. Yeah. That's how you know it's a scam. A gift cards only. I learned that by watching On Your Side on Arizona's Family. Yeah. What was the thing, Mikis, in that space that you had to order? And I mean, you said it was 4 months. What was the one thing that was hard to get, or like, how do I find? Yeah, or and tell your friends.
Well, tell your friends is a little bit different. We had a little bit more time. Cala was
4 months.
We literally, from the time we signed the deal to like the day we opened, was almost four to 5
my gosh.
months. So we had like he said, a lot of the space was there. We had to design the patio. There was no patio; it was just dirt. So that was there. The bar was kind of there. Then we just put the concept over kind of what was there, and then what we really had to do was find what was available, which was that we could get.
Right.
Everything's backorder.
Furniture is hard to get within a certain time frame, especially custom stuff or specific stuff. So
we were building.
Yeah.
Chef Beau, were you doing that? I'm putting together the chairs.
So good woodworking now. I can whittle.
He's so talented.
But I mean, it was
crazy.
A huge hit from the beginning, and kind of blows us all away.
Really? That it was
really
a hit,
does.
but why?
Yeah, just because of how quickly I think it happened.
Yeah. You had the time to process it. Really, it was just like you're open, and I think it was also too. A lot of it was just like, what is it? What is going to happen with this place? And it's just like, we were so lucky.
I've never done anything
lucky
like that in an independent hotel like that, and like the relationship there and how it all works, and like. I obviously am very familiar with Old Town and the entertainment district, and I tried food there for years on the entertainment district side, and it never worked. From all our other spots, and I didn't know. I honestly didn't know if people would come for the food and all that, and they did.
And they do.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the bachelorette parties over at Cala, but I see grown adults having dinners there, and so I feel like you get all the ages.
You do, and it's also kind of like from the local and the guests that come in from out of the city. It's just like it's kind of it's a great weekday vibe for our local guests, and I have so much talent in that building. Like I have a chef that's worked for me since he was 16 years old. That's really cut his teeth in this town, and is becoming a fast rising superstar, Peter McQuaid, and just won a big chopped tournament and beat out 16 other guys. And I'm like I'm a mentor on the stage, but there was also 3 other chefs that came in with me from Sanctuary that have been with me. One's been with me 20 years, one's been with me 7. So when you put a crew like that in the base and everybody, speaks the same language and knows it, there's just an overwhelming sense of pride trying to, with quality and with speed. And the menu is designed to go fast. I mean, it's a high energy pace. So there's not a lot of time that you have to cook things. We had to do things smart, like pastas and hand-stretched pizzas and things that cook at high temperatures but come out quickly. And, for whatever reason, it shocks me too how much, I mean, we do 600 covers on a Friday and Saturday night.
Yep.
Banging out of a small kitchen with just good people. The dish pit is like, it's like the size of my bathroom in my house, and I'm like, how does this work? It's an anomaly to me, but it works. It's all about the people. Like I'm going to tell you, when you work around people that care, and that's one of the things that was, coming from a place that I'd been at for so long, and you got to work with so many people. There's so much trust and there's so much energy, and you have that. When you started over, and we started over with close to 80 employees, and I would say that a majority of those employees were under 27 years old, and a lot of them might have been their first gig. I realized I hadn't opened a restaurant in 23 years. It was kind of like, what are you thinking, bro? Like this. But at the end of the day, you got hungry, humble, smart people that want to feel valued, and they have a genuine care for their space and love of the restaurant, because what people come to it for, and it's 2 years in, I look at it and go like, wow, you know what I mean? I'm like, we're talking about opening up a second one if we're allowed to talk about it. I don't know, whatever. But it's like,
let's talk about not talk about where, but
we're
really close.
Yeah, we're really close.
Very close to signing something somewhere for a second Cala.
We're grateful
in the valley.
We're grateful for it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
And maybe outside the valley too.
Outside the valley, outside the state, or
it belongs
outside
in
the
Boston,
state?
Cala. You drop the accent on it. I was at Cala. I had a Sam Adams last night over at Cala. It was awesome.
I'm thinking about that. What is it? The lamb lollipop?
The lamb, the little lamb Kafka. Yeah, that we had on the menu.
Yeah,
I love that. People miss that. Yeah, I got to bring that back.
Yeah,
I got to resurrect it.
Bring it back.
Yeah.
Well, while we're talking about Cala, let's talk about Sundays because you guys are about to blow up Sundays. What are you guys doing this summer?
What are we doing?
Cala Sundays.
Is there a brunch thing
It was
going on?
sent in the paperwork. Yeah, there's a brunch thing going on.
Brunch thing going
So
on.
anyhow, Cala Sundays.
3-for-1 cocktails and all you can eat shrimp.
Tell everyone Beau sent you.
Tell them Beau sent you.
Okay, so
Make
let's
sure you
just
wink.
scratch that one.
Yeah,
Just
let's
go
not do that.
anytime.
Let's not do that.
Anytime. It is a treat. And then, Mikis, tell me about, because, I mean, you're a hometown guy like me.
Yep.
And to know that you're putting these landmarks in our valley that with big time chefs and big names that people come to as a destination. What does that mean to you?
Well, I've always felt like restaurants and even bars are the culture of any city, right? So being part of that's amazing. You know, when people come to town and, I don't know if we already discussed this, but a majority of the people that come to Cala, like probably 50-60% are out of towners.
Yeah.
So for them to like come to Cala because they've heard about it and want to see it, I mean, it's part of the culture now of Old Town and Scottsdale in general. And we're hoping, tell your friends is the same thing, that people are, want to come visit because they want to go see these cool, unique spots in our town.
Yeah. And we've been talking about just kind of the, over the last 20 years, the Phoenix food scene has changed so much.
Absolutely.
When we got here, Beau, it was most of those restaurants were part of hotels because we were, I guess as a kid, I didn't realize we were such a tourist destination. People came here to golf. They came here to enjoy the winters, etc. And we have created such a beautiful scene. It has changed so much. The vibe has totally, it feels collaborative. Of course, I'm on that side looking in. It feels like people really work well together and lift each other up as you do with these mentors. How has things changed as far as the vibe and the flow in the valley?
You just watched it mature. I always felt like this was a great destination town for food. I knew it even I thought it was a best kept secret back in the early 2000s and stuff. But I would say, that a majority of some of these finer restaurants were driven by the hotel hospitality side with the destination, the spas and the golf courses and the draws. But when I started Sanctuary, I can tell you this, I opened with 9 employees and I grew it to 53. And I did that consecutively for 23 years. So even when I look back there, some of the amazing people that I've got the opportunity to work with in this town have gone on and opened up their own restaurants and have had success, not just in this town, but in so many other cities. And you take such a great sense of pride in that. I knew when I got here, and I was young enough and traveled enough. I worked in Boca Raton, Florida. I worked in Montreal, New York. I was in LA, and stuff. And I got to AZ, and people my friends from Mass still call me, and they're like, "So you like it out there?" I'm like, "No, dude. I've been here 23 years. I do not like it out here. Right? I hate it. Right? But it's a good town where people want to celebrate what we have. And I can tell you that in all of the states and in places that I have been, what I just value most is more about the relationship between the community, that the people are loyal. They come out and they support people that are doing good things. They support the small businesses of the world. They support the big businesses of the world. They love the energy. They love the vibe. They're from all over different parts of the country, but they love our food scene and they've helped us really grow it. And then for all those young kids that are now coming up and doing it, I mean, I just celebrated a guy who worked with me for 6 years, Rene Andrade, Cheeto, just won a James Beard Award for the city.
Yes.
I have such a pride. His cousin Roberto runs Santo in Arcadia, who's one of the best cooks I've ever worked with in my life. I have Russell Acase I'm cooking with tonight at the Valley Ho, who's been 7 years at the Hotel Valley Ho and is crushing it. Seeing Pete McQuaid, seeing all these restaurants kind of pop up. And now the other thing too is this was not a celebrity chef-driven town. But it's, you watch in the next 3 or 4 years, you got Uchi that came in, Carbones they're talking about, you got restaurants like La Colonial. People are looking at us and going like, it's not, I don't have to pay as much money to have a business like I do in California, but I'm coming from Chicago, New York, or whatever, and we're just going to continue to explode. And we will be recognized as one of the best food destinations in the country, if not now, soon.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it too.
And
Got me fired up.
I know,
Yes,
me
let's
too.
go.
Let's eat. Why are we not eating?
Yes.
But let's talk about the Food Network
Local
thing.
love and tacos. I want to add to
Ooh,
that.
you know what? I
Local
am
love
down
and
for that
tacos.
vibe.
Yeah.
But the Food Network stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you were the one who kind of started that here in town. And then it seemed like you brought a lot of your Food Network friends here
Correct.
and did events at Sanctuary. You were
Yes.
always willing, to me as an outsider, to share that contact.
Yeah. There is, I think one of the truest meanings of a chef is the selflessness. And I try to remain present in regards to what hospitality is. When you're in this business, you're a student every day, right? And it's cliche as the things you learn through culinary school and how you grow. But in hospitality, it's black and white. If you don't like to please people or you're not a giver, you're in the wrong game. And it shouldn't be about you. I really appreciate the opportunities I've had and how the Food Network may have changed my life. But the day I was fortunate to win Iron Chef America, in the moment, I knew at that moment that it was going to change my life. But I also knew in that moment that it would never change me. This was just a competition. This was just an opportunity. You know what I mean? You can't believe your own BS. One of my oldest mentors, Chuck Wiley in the city, guided me. And I said, I have an obligation. You know what I mean? It's like, one is, this town is supporting me. I cut my teeth. I've had all my success in this town. You have to give back. And Nirvana was a process of let's celebrate the best that Arizona has in food through a festival that was a lifestyle festival. We had artists, musicians. I tried to include everybody I possibly could in that. But the other side of this is just people call me all the time and they're like, hey, I need help. What's the best feeling you can give to anybody in life is helping someone. I have 5 children. I watch my little kids that can't even communicate, and they can communicate through natural giving or smiles, or when they eat something they can't talk yet, but they dance, and things like that. So it's just like, that was for me is like what I loved about this city was, you needed 5 pounds of tuna, you could call somebody and they're like, I got you, come on over and get it. You know what I mean? Someone's looking for something over here. That's what I really liked. It was, yes, there's a lot of competition and yes, there's a lot of guys, but we're in it for the community's sake, and the community here supports the people that are putting in the hard work every day.
And with Clive Collective, Mikis, you wanted to move away from the night scene and into something where you could create something special but have more balance.
Yes.
Tell me
definitely.
about that.
Yeah, just coming from that world and having 2 young kids.
He was drunk all the time.
No,
he lost his balance every night in those nightclubs, and he was like, I got to get out of it. I'm just kidding.
I was married. I was married.
Those nightclubs, you can't balance so well.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Poor
2
Mikis.
kids now. He just got a little dog. I love teasing Mikis. He's the
How old
best.
are the kids, Mikis?
8 and 6 now.
Beautiful children.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
And
Yeah,
wife,
thank you.
and wife.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and wife.
Who's also in the industry.
Yeah.
Has a beautiful company.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Back to your question.
Balance. It was
Yep.
balance.
No, there was a work-life balance I wasn't getting.
Yeah.
So to have that, and I, had very young kids at that point, and it was just kind of time to kind of do something else because it wasn't working.
Yeah.
So
And that was part of the attraction to you as well.
Yeah,
it was
it was for me. There comes a point in your life where, your priorities are still your priorities, but I have 5 children, so there was a lot of years that I missed a Christmas Eve, a Christmas Day.
Yeah.
I cooked, 30 years of Thanksgiving dinners, and stuff. And you come to a point where you miss that. And now it's like with Mikis, and one of the things, we talked about is how much family means to us and having the balance. And, I can look at, it took me a while to not be the guy who comes in as a chef every day and wants to be involved in everything.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot of what it means to kind of be an entrepreneur, and I'm still learning, in those spaces. But I have great faith in my teams, but the thing I can know is I can work as hard as I want to work and as long as I want to work, but I can also go home at 7:45 at night and my chef's like, hey, see you tomorrow, chef. You know what I mean? And they're good. And I can read a story to my 4-year-old twins.
Yeah.
And that
that's
means
so
a lot to me.
important. Yeah, especially at this
Mm-hmm.
time to be able to have that, to build out the other pieces of the pie, I like to
Correct.
say,
Yeah.
which is that's so important.
Yep.
absolutely.
What would you tell someone, Mike, is for someone who wants to do what you're doing?
Basically.
Someone who wants to do what you're doing.
Right.
They want to get to this space.
Right.
Where would you start? What would you? What's a mistake you wish you hadn't made? What's a thing you tell someone never to do again? And anything that would get you there faster.
You just have to be passionate about it, and you just have to just go. I mean, it's almost you can't think too hard about it because you're not going to be able to do it. You know, you'll figure out every reason not to. And sometimes you just have to take the leap of faith and just do it.
So you follow the passion over the rational.
I mean, you got to have a little of both,
Yeah.
but being an entrepreneur, you're obviously wired a little bit differently.
Yeah.
You're willing to take the risk, you know? So you have to be willing, and then you just have to go all in. I mean, you really do.
So how do you think you could have maybe gotten there faster, or something that you wish you hadn't done? Or
I look back and I go, you know, I don't have a lot of like, you know, I was blessed to have a job that I had for a long time, and I feel this way now. To the point with Mikis too, and this is a truth, is just I would tell people, like, you know, don't be afraid to fail. You know what I mean? It's like I look at it and I say, like, you know, there's nothing wrong with food and there's nothing wrong with beverage until the human element comes into it. Right. And so, like, we make mistakes every day, right? You can't be perfect in this business, but it's like, if you can move from the failure to failure without losing that enthusiasm and learn from that, I think that's where the experience really, really comes from. And so, like, being with good partners and being with people that really want to support your dream and that vision is important. And then, you know, take the good with the bad, but keep believing in yourself and believing in what you're doing. And I think that, you know, it's only a matter of time. Yeah.
Someone once said to me about live TV, you can't be perfect.
Yeah.
But you can be great.
Yeah.
So always hang on that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, live TV, we get one shot and that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
But was it pretty good? Yeah. Did I stumble over a word? Yeah, I did that too.
Yeah.
So what are you guys loving in AZ right now? What are you eating? What are you drinking? What are you doing? What's just on your personal time? What are you doing?
Mikis has been
you're
spending a lot
gonna
of
get
time
Mikis in trouble
downtown.
again.
No, but he's in downtown Phoenix a lot more than I am.
I go out a lot more than he does.
Go out. But
I
what
love
do you-
Renee's new spot, Hirachi's. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, all his stuff, Bacanora is amazing. I like Sake House a lot. You know, Julian Wright, that's an amazing
Julian's
place.
been in the game a long time.
Since the 90s.
Last time-
and
long
Will
time.
Have,
Good
yeah.
guy. Montreal
Ocho.
kid too.
Yeah.
I love him.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I
He was
think
on
he's
my
famous from
podcast.
Montreal.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'm at Otro Cafe. I
Yeah,
actually had
yeah.
dinner there last night. One of our favorite spots.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the local Arcadia spots we always hit up, like, you know, Crujente and Vecina and kind of those type of spots.
And
Yeah.
JT's.
Obviously,
The
JT's.
wings at JT's.
Yeah.
Literally going there
Yeah.
tonight
I had
for
one
my
of the
birthday. It was
greatest
my
nights
birthday
of my life
request.
at JT's. I can't
You know I live
talk
long
about it, but I
next
loved
to
it.
us.
Yeah. It's such a good spot.
So as a chef, what are they doing with the works wings?
Nobody,
They're
you're,
quesadillas.
you're not even allowed to ask. You just got to just go. Hopefully you get a seat. I don't know. You know.
I'm
Yeah.
not cleaning.
Yeah.
Oh, stop.
Yeah. But I mean, you think
grease.
about that too, and it was funny because, you know, if you let's just back up 15 years, and, you know, everybody tried to get downtown Phoenix. You know, it was you know Scottsdale was booming. You had everything going and stuff, but no one wanted to drive downtown. Now, when you really look at our community and stuff like this too, it's like over the last 10 years, it's like everything is happening downtown, and there's a lot of raw and unfiltered and real, and I think concept driven and kind of like outside the box type stuff from not only the cocktail bars but the food scene. And it's awesome to see that blow up, and it's still great to see, you know, restaurants like Zinc Bistro celebrate
Yeah.
25 years, where I
Yeah.
still have French onion soup and a Sancerre or some oysters, and I'm like, this is my jam. You know what I
Coco
mean?
Van.
I love it. You know.
Yes.
And so. Yeah, a lot of good things here. Christopher, I look at Christopher and say, man, Christopher's, when I got here, he's one of the first chefs I went to see.
Really?
He was locking up his door at 10:30 at night. I had two chefs with me from California, and I said, chef, and he turned around, opened up his door, invited us in, cooked for us, and we had drinks for like 2.5 hours. He's
Stop
like, let me
it.
know how I can help you, Beau. You know, and I've watched him just continue to evolve in the city. He's one of the first pioneers here,
Yeah.
and now he's probably has, you know, him and Kevin probably have the most recognized, like, chef-driven Michelin star-esque
Yeah.
you know, facility that we have in this town. And then, like you said, Renee, you know, I'm going to open
Up
up
and coming.
I'm going to open a Bacanara with 15 seats or whatever. It has 20
Yeah.
seats. No one's ever going to be looking in. And I'm cooking 100% of my food on a 6-foot grill with fire and energy. And it's just, it's amazing. You
I
know
need
what
to get in there. Can you help
Yeah,
me?
yeah, I know.
You know anyone?
Yeah, and that is a good sign. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's so good to have that. So like I love it. And I'm going to be honest too. When when COVID shut down Sweet Tomatoes, my family and I cried for a week because that was the only place my 5 kids would agree on eating once or twice a month. So, we've got to drive to Tucson now because we just heard one opened up.
I want to do that. JT's and Sweet Tomatoes.
I love JT's.
Yeah.
So
Me
good.
too.
Yep.
Well, Chef Beau and Mikis, it is so great to see you. Clive Collective, thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Jamie's Local Love, the podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Soretta. Our technician is Tom Heidinger. Our editors are Lorraine Shearing and Gina Coy. Do you know a business worthy of some local love? Email me at jsoretta@azfamily.com. Follow us at facebook.com/Soretta and Instagram @Soretta News. Make sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star review, please. And tell your friends about the podcast and the businesses we feature to show your local love. You can find us on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and anywhere you get your podcasts.
Jamie's Local Love, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.